really night here in Luxor, Egypt. And I am Dr. Boz. We are live again on Tuesday night. I am happy to be going live with you. I wasn't sure it was going to happen. We were on a train today from Aswan to Luxor, which took a nice train ride along the Nile River, showing me some countryside, but also showing me how different these countries have been that I've been to in the last week. So of course, started out in Florida, where I live now, and spent a week in Rome. Went to Vatican City, saw the Colosseum, and did my live last week there, finding myself lost when my dead cell phone was with husband, and I got a little lost without a cell phone and didn't speak the language. And then on Saturday, we flew from Rome to Egypt. And I just thought I would take this opportunity where it's really raw in my mind to point out some of the differences between these cultures and what I expected and some of the things that are not turning out as I expected. All right, so I will use the comparison. I am watching for comments here, so thank you for those of you that are tuning in, that you can, you're hopefully can hear me. That's what I really care about. Oh yeah, here we go. As I can see your comments now. Yes, the process of setting all this up without any help, it really is a little bit anxiety provoking every time I do it, even though I've been doing it for years now. So here's a few things. The first thing I wanted to point out was, I know the exchange rate is something that when you use it frequently, the numbers on the television about what is the American dollar worth and how does it apply in other currencies, well, it's just a number when you always live in America, right? So our trip to Rome, I'm not going to lie, we went to put in to the ATM machine in Rome, and they used euros there, so we put in $500 and we got out like 420 or 440 euros, and kind of felt yucky, like, oh, all right, I guess that's the exchange rate. But then as we proceeded in Rome to use the euro, especially when it came to eating, the dollar the currency went a lot further. Like what we would pay for a really nice meal, which I don't know if Rome makes not nice meals, or if we just accidentally went to all these wonderful places that everything wanted to have like a 5-course meal. I'm like, no, I don't want to have that or that or that. I just want to have this and that, and then I want to go. I mean, they really wanted you to budget like 2 hours for a meal, which is lovely the first time. And then you're like, all right, do we have to take that long? But what would be a really nice meal in America, it was about a third of the price in Rome. So your money, even though the currency rate was not, I don't know, maybe it's been that way for a while and I just haven't noticed. You could buy a really nice meal for a lot lower price, and their entertainment through food was just like an art form for delivering that. All right, so then I'll compare it to, we landed in Egypt on Saturday, and we knew there was a gap in our hotel arrangements. The conference that I'm attending has a group of activity that started on Monday, so we had a Saturday and a Sunday we needed to find a hotel room for. And it turns out there is a new Waldorf Astoria hotel that just opened up in Cairo. And that's like I'd never been in one until a couple of years ago. And it's one of those things you might want to wait till you're 52 to see it, because I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the nicest hotel I've ever stayed in. So I said, oh my gosh, they have one. And the price to stay in it was not like $700 a night. It was, I don't know, like $200 or $300, so somewhere in there, to stay there for this really nice hotel. So we get to this incredibly fancy, brand new hotel in Cairo, and we go to the ATM machine in Egypt, and I mean, it's all written in Arabic. I must have missed the English translation button, and so I went to push the money, and out comes a bunch of money, And this nice lady's trying to help me, but she doesn't speak that much English either. And I said, well, how much is this? And she's like, 4,000. And I'm like, okay, but it's a card, so I don't know how much American dollars that was to get out of there. It just spit out $4,000 or 4,000 of their currency. And so I'm, taking the money back and not or going back to the hotel and trying to pay for a few things. And I've got this stack of currency, and I don't know what it is in American dollars. Well, it took several attempts at buying, a little bubble water here and trying to buy a cup of coffee here over the next like half an hour to realize, okay, either the currency rate is really great or I spent a lot of money in that ATM machine. So we go back and I have somebody who reads English with me on this ATM machine, or it can help me find where to push the button so it shows me English. And it says the maximum amount of US dollars you can pull out at one time in Europe is $84. So $84 turned into 4,000 of their currency, and that currency was lasting a long time. It was a very good exchange rate, but the reason they would only let us pull out $84 is because of, they're having an economic crisis. I don't know if it's the right word, but economic crunch, where the circulating U.S. dollars in Egypt is small, and they won't let you pull out more than $84 worth of currency when you're talking U.S. dollars. Anyway, I just thought the first thing I wanted to compare was that you look at what the exchange rates were in these countries, and then how much that translates into how easy was it to get calories, especially processed calories. So the average income in Rome, in Italy, is about $75,000. The average income in Egypt is $2,500. In Cairo specifically, is $2,500. So the amount of the socioeconomic change from one country to the next was what I was missing. I landed in this really fancy hotel, so we don't hardly get off the plane, and for those of you that watched the news over the weekend, there were missiles being shot down or drones being shot down like 200 miles from where we're at right now. And so we were a little unsettled by that. We said, let's just stay in the hotel for the next, so we really were sheltered on what Egypt looked like. We had landed on a plane, and then we went to this super crazy fancy hotel, and then we said, we're just gonna sit still and see what's happening for the next 24 hours. So Sunday we just spent it in the hotel and didn't go out exploring. But Monday we did. On Monday, we used our $84 turning into 4,000 euros or 4,000 Egyptian pounds. And we got a driver to take us to the pyramids. And I'll show, so we got to the pyramids, and I think it was the first day off of Ramadan. So if people did have a vacation that took them there, they weren't not there. It was a very low number of people at the pyramids. It was lovely. And so we had this really high stack of currency that we'd taken out of the ATMs over and over again, and we got a horse and buggy to go to the different, just to go around the pyramids. I don't know if you can see the bruise on my eye there. Yeah, that's what happens when you hit a pothole in a horse and buggy and you're not expecting it. So yeah, on top of everything else in Cairo, we left our luggage, took a little flight to this town, Aswan, A-S-W-A-N, Aswan, and then we took some touring around that area, and now we are in Luxor, so we took a train along the Nile River and are up in Luxor for some more touring tomorrow. And then we're going to fly back to Cairo and do a couple more days of activities, and then our conference is on Saturday. The point of that was to say that I left all my toiletries, all my makeup. I packed a bag for me and my husband, and he just put his Ziploc bag in this to-go bag, and mine's still in Cairo. So there's the bruise. It does look really shiny, yes. All right, so number one thing, just for the comparison, was how far the money went relative to food. When you look at the kinds of things that are on the menu here in Egypt, I had to write them down because they're strange. Okay, so the first thing that I ate that I've never eaten before is stuffed pigeon. Now, my guests from Cairo say that's a delicacy, and that's something that apparently French people eat a lot of that, but it was actually good. I ate the skin. That was lovely. My husband had he did not appreciate me eating the pigeon, but I also had their chicken liver. They had a plate of chicken liver. That was good. They had ostrich. Never eaten that before. I didn't eat that though. They had some pickled fish. They sell camel meat. They sell camel milk, but they also sold camel meat. The part that I wanted to point out is the range of foods that are, I guess Italian foods are everywhere in America, but Egyptian foods, not so many. I mean, I knew of, is baklava from Egypt? Because they did have that on the menu, and I knew that word. Of course I did. All right, so we're going to compare a couple more things, and then I will wrap up my travels because it is late here. But I thought for sure, being a fan of Starbucks, I mean, for those of you that know me, it's part of like the staple of my day is to get a Starbucks cup of coffee. And I thought, isn't that like an Italian word to order a latte? But in Italy, when I tried to order a latte, they wanted me to use the word cappuccino, which I tried to, and then tried to say, but the cappuccino, and then it's got an extra shot of espresso, and then it's got made with heavy cream. Oh, they wanted nothing to do with my order. I mean, 7 days out of 7, I ordered what I thought. I kept trying to change it in hopes to find what it is, the cup of coffee that I usually would. You could not say the word latte. Latte did not make any sense to them. They kept saying cappuccino, and then I would say, but I want an extra shot of espresso in there, so then they give me an espresso on the side, and I'd mix them together, and they would say, I thought that's what you wanted, and anyway, I thought all these years that Starbucks has taught us how to say venti and lattes and grande. Well, the Italians don't know what the heck we're talking about. That's not what they say. But in Italy, or in Egypt, I said the word latte, I said the word extra shot, and they knew exactly what I was talking about. I got a really good cup of coffee when I got here to Egypt. Okay, so the next thing, a couple of other things to compare. In Italy, food is their social, food is a social connector no matter where you are. But there is an art form and a subtext to every meal that was in Italy. Like, it was meant to be a calming time where you sat still, you did not rush it, or they got irritated. Like, relax. And that's exactly what you should be telling me. Relax. So like, I kind of want to get going. No, you're eating. Slow down. So definitely their culture around food was, it's a social time to connect and a time to relax. It should be slow. It should be savored. And it was incredible food. I mean, they really put this beautiful art form into delivering their food, right? In Egypt, now it's only Tuesday, so I don't have quite as many days under my belt. And the first 2 I kind of think were isolated in that fancy hotel. Well, I still think food connects them, but it must be in their homes. It must be in their family units, because it is not a place that, for vacationers, you can see them eating, but the people of Egypt are not doing that. It is, so I was actually talking about what are the social events that connect the people. And my husband told me I shouldn't tell this story, but I'm going to tell this story anyway. So the first time I really tried to say, what do you do to connect as a community? I was when I was in Haiti. And it was probably the 4th or 5th time we were in Haiti. So I thought I understood the people of Haiti. I had these relationships with the translators. We had them multiple times. They served the people with us. And one day, they're all young men that were translating for us, and they were whispering away from me. And every time I would get near them, they would shut up. And then I would say, what are you talking about? And they wouldn't tell me. And so, of course, it's in Creole, so I know like 4 medical words in Creole. I have no idea what they're talking about. But my husband, well, they would talk about it with him. And so I get back, and I'm like, what were they talking about? He goes, you don't want to know. You don't want to know. I'm like, Chad, what were they whispering about? Well, they were talking about their form of entertainment. And their form of entertainment was, I mean, again, Haiti is the poorest country in the world. So I always thought I have a really good measuring stick to compare when I go to other countries, because this is the poorest. But I mean, the Haitians were happy. They had a really rich culture. And then there was this secret culture that it took me a while to find out about, and I never got invited to go watch it. I don't think I would ever watch it. They were going to a chicken fight. They call it cockfight. And I didn't think people did that. And when you started to try and push back against them about, oh, that's terrible, that's unethical, oh my God, you do what? The animals do what? You do what? And they were so defensive about it. It's so fun, we bet, and it was how they had entertainment. And you're like, okay, so this is what entertainment looks like when you have the cheapest budget. And then I've been to like Thailand, and they really think that cockfighting is a big deal to celebrate. So apparently I was clueless that this happens in the world, but it was not something they wanted to tell their visitors about, for sure. So in Italy, I think they're very happy to say our big social thing that we do here in Rome is we eat. There's wine everywhere. It is an art form. In Egypt, I haven't quite figured out, I mean, football, when you turn on the television, like the first 15 channels are football. And by football, I mean soccer, but football for here. I mean, and then no 2 games are the same. It's not reruns. This is live football from all these different places. The first 15 channels. Once you get past that, you have people, there's like a religious ceremonies that they put on at night, and these men are singing and dancing on the stage and doing some kind of ritual in a different language. So then you got to get past those channels. And then you can find a couple news channels. But what that tells me is that, yeah, their religion is really important here, and their football is really important here. So they like to, which I suppose is a lot like America. We when the football game is on, I think we all slow down and, well, the people I hang out with all slow down and watch a little sports and get entertainment around that. So the final thing that I've always learned to take notice of is the animals. So in Rome, we did see some horses. I think the horses here in Cairo, the ones that pulled that buggy, they're about 2/3 the size of the ones that were in Rome. And I had this image that the Colosseum was still full of cats, because every time you see the Colosseum in Rome is always full of cats. Well, they have found a way to get rid of all the cats. There's not a, I mean, I think I saw 1 cat at the Colosseum. But when I sat down to that Waldorf Astoria, we sat outside, and there were kitty cats that came up to the table, under our table, at this really fancy restaurant. There's a wild cat. Well, probably they were domesticated, I suppose, but they weren't supposed to be there. You could tell. The staff did not like that they were coming near us. And today, everywhere we went, there was cats everywhere. Not very healthy looking cats either. All right, so what's the summary of what have I learned on my trips? Number 1, don't use the word latte in Italian, but you can use it in Egypt. Number 2, my money goes a lot further in Egypt. It does buy very processed food for a section, and then it's very culturally unique. Like to get their protein, they have traditions, but it's pretty tasty. It might not be what my husband doesn't think it's not his favorite for sure. He wants a regular steak, or he had something called lasagna that had no meat in it, and he's like, that's not lasagna. That was, of course, in Egypt. The lasagna in Rome was amazing. That the food processes to get calories on the table throughout the whole globe. Definitely still easy to get those calories that are processed. And the final thing I think that was really shocking to me is, and maybe I'm just sheltered from this in America, but I don't think so. The per capita that smokes America's doing way better than that. The smoking rate in America, now they might be getting their nicotine in different ways, but at least they're not pulling it in through tobacco and polluting everybody's air. On that train ride today, every time that train stopped, all of the people went to the little spaces in between the cars, smoked like a chimney, and then got back in, and it was just terrible. That was the worst part of the train ride. The ride along the Nile was lovely, actually. All right, so I'm going to try to scroll through to see if there's any questions that might pertain to this. Oh my goodness, some people writing in the wrong language. Baklava is from Greece. Yes, I knew that. Thank you for telling me that, John. Very good. Yeah, slow down and savor. Yes, that would help the whole world do a lot better, isn't it? Yeah. Honestly, it's the last time I did time zones this much was when we went to China and Thailand with our foreign exchange daughter. This was before the pandemic. We went to China, and I just had a heck of a time getting my brain to wake up and really like the new time zones. So my trick of fasting and really using food to help me reset my time zone worked great. I was doing all these experiments with my continuous glucose monitor, and then I went in the sauna and it fell off. So my experiments came to a screeching halt. But I've kind of slowed down and taken a little bit more time to just look around and slow down. So I pass that on to you. I will tell you that next week there's a big wrestling event, and if we get home on time, I'll make it in time for my son's wrestling senior night wrestling appreciation for the boys at the wrestling tournament. So we will not be here live next week, but I will be home in America. So we will see you then. It's Dr. Boz signing off, improving your health one ketone at a time. See you next week. See you in 2 weeks.